welcome to Season 2, Episode 5. This is our death metal special. We're going to kick things off with Celestial Sanctuary and their new single, Koalemos. That was Celestial Sanctuary. Tonight's interview is with John Hand. He appeared on the album cover for Death's original album Scream Bloody Gore, but didn't actually play on the album. So more about that in his interview coming up later. Before that, from their new album Gluttony, this is Take Your Face for a Shit by Foetal Juice. Next up is legendary Brummy death metalers. This is Benediction and Dark is the Season. Next up, leading us into our interview, is Bloodyard. This is Rupture the Mask from their new album, Orchard of Corpses. Okay, so today in the UK Thrashers virtual studio, we've got Mr. John Hand, a name that some of you may have spotted from the back of legendary Death album Scream Bloody Gore. John, please introduce yourself.
Hey, John Hand, the Hand of Death. How are you, Neil?
It's good to speak to you. Thanks for staying up late to talk to me. So we kind of touched on it there. You were credited on the back of Scream Bloody Gore. Your photos on the back of it, but I think it's widely known that you unfortunately didn't actually play on that album. It's a pretty weird situation. How did all that happen? How did you kind of meet Chuck? And tell us a story about how that all came to be.
Yeah, it is kind of a weird situation. Well, Chris Reifert, who's the drummer for Scream Bloody Gore and Autopsy and Abscess, is an amazing drummer. Side note, but him and myself had kind of formed like a garage band. We were both in high school at the time, and we were buddies on top of it, and we were having a hard time finding players as well. And my girlfriend at the time, this girl named Janine, she was a radio DJ at the local high school kind of metal radio station that they had there at Clayton Valley High, and it was really cool. And Chuck had actually called them. He was living, which no one knew, no more than 45 minutes away, with Crystal Mahoney, who was actually the manager at the time, hence the song Crystal Mountain. It's all about her. But anyways, he was calling he wanted to post a flyer and buy a radio section there so they could announce it and advertise it. But we found out about it before it actually hit the air, so we called him first, and we're like, yeah. So we ended up being the first to audition for him. We went over to Crystal's house where he was living, tried out for him, and he hired us on the spot. Now we hit it off. We were buds from there on.
That's brilliant. So how long were you actually a member of Death for then?
Probably just about 2 years, just under 2 years total. And friends, we were friends actually before that for a little, about two and a half years total. Beginning of 86 to tail end of 88, excuse me.
So you were kind of fully fledged members, and then you guys kind of got in the studio, and And then what? Chuck recorded all those bits himself, brought other people in to do it. Was that how did it actually kind of happen? Like?
Oh yeah, because the drum doctor had to come down. So, well, what happened? First of all, Chuck and Chris tried to do one in Florida, and it was just the two of them, and it didn't work out so well. So Combat said, "The hell with it, it's not working," because it wasn't even their fault. It was the studio they were recording at. This guy never did metal. He was clueless, and it just was a poor situation for both of them. So fast forward back to the Bay Area, and I was still not ready. Chuck's was way outside of my level of playing, but I wasn't far behind, and I was getting it quick. And originally we were going to have time for me to be where I was comfortable doing it, and Chuck was comfortable with me doing it as well. And I mean, we were already playing. I was even playing some songs like Pull the Plug off Leprosy and a couple other songs like that. We were working on those as well, like Corpse Grinder. Those were all ones we would start to rehearse and warm up on. And I just wasn't really, just like Terry Butler, I get it. I totally understand why he had an issue with Leprosy playing his bass parts. Chuck can be very exacting, and especially after the crash and burn in Florida, this time that we were going to get it right. And he wanted me to be in it, and he wanted Chris to be in it. So we said, fine, we're in it, man. If you want us, we'll do it. We'll do the best we can, obviously.
So he obviously, by your photos being on the back of the cover, you got kind of the credit from being part of that band. I guess you thought, even though you didn't do the recording, you were still going to be in Death for the long run. That was just a minor hiccup, and you were going to learn the songs and get on the road and play. At least be the live musician, if not the studio.
Oh yeah, but I was originally going to do the Scream as well, but Combat wanted to fast. They wanted to push everything ahead because it was kind of like in the pipeline, the rough mix of Rain and Blood, and everyone knew, oh shit, that's going to reinvent everything. So Combat was wanting to try to hurry up and get that Scream out there first, but then there's no way that would have happened. None of us would have been ready, so that was just not an option. Because when Rain actually came out, there was not a chance in hell of us getting ready for that one. But that's kind of what they wanted to do. That was their plan, anyways. And so Chuck just said, "Well, I'll do your parts. If you're not comfortable doing them, I'll do them." And just basically, that's actually a quick way of doing it when you're in the studios. And if the guy's got a good run going, you just tape it twice. Just do it, run through, and record another track of that same riff. It's actually a lot cheaper that way too, but. It's still the same sound though. Unfortunately, it's hard to differentiate the two different guitars.
Yes, they were, I guess, both Chuck's guitars, both in his style, so you don't get that dual effect of having two guitarists. Even if you're both playing the rhythm parts, I guess you play them in a slightly different way. Yeah. Chuck was,
like I said, Chuck was nervous. They had already kind of ticked off, the Combat group a little bit with the crash and burn in Florida. But it really wasn't their fault. Again, it was, they were doomed anyhow because the producer had no clue on doing metal, and what they're doing, what we were doing was so new anyhow. It was, it was new to us even. It was just what felt normal.
So, Scream Bloody Gore came out. Obviously, I was
a fan until we got the phone call. And I thought it was over an argument over because I was going to get a new axe, and we were supposed to Chuck had went back to visit and see the family, and then he was coming back, and we were going to get on the Tornado '87 tour with Voivod, Celtic Frost, and that turned out to be a pretty good tour, and we were supposed to be on it, but we couldn't get a bass player other than Steve DiGiorgio, and that would have been taken in from Sadis, and he was pretty well doing good with Sadis at that time. Didn't really want to leave. Chuck ended up talking him into it sometime after that, but Chris and I had no luck finding a bass player in over 6 months trying. So it was kind of frustrating, but I think that was part of it too. Chuck just said, what, I got these guys, they're beating my door down. I'm sure once Cam Lee heard the rough mix of Scream, he's like, oh man, I need to get in on this, and then with that in hand, there's no shortage of people ready to jump on it. At that time, I remember it was like a burning forest fire, man. That thing just blew up.
I bet. And so you received the call from Chuck, or and I guess that must have been just
what really sucked was he made Chuck do it.
He made who, Dory?
he made Chris do it. He made Chris call up and say, "Hey, Chuck's, we're going a different way." And then 2 weeks later, Chris was out too, which really sucks because I was mad at Chris. And then come to find out, there's actually a friend of ours, a mutual friend of mine and Chris's, said, "Hey, John, it wasn't really Chris. He was just doing what Chuck." I know, I figured that, but I was so fed up with the whole thing at that point. I was mad at both of them.
So at that point, was that kind of the end of that relationship? Did you kind of make friends with Chris again? Did you kind of make your peace with Chuck?
No, I didn't, and that's what sucks is because Johnny disappears for a good 10 years, easy, and I didn't make peace with nobody. I just bailed out and said, "The hell with it. I'm tired of it." I got kind of fed up with the metal scene, and I was getting trashed every time I seen an article or a magazine, and it was just someone was bagging on me for something, and I'm like, man, they don't even know me. Whatever. That's not how it happened. And I knew Chuck was mad, so he started downplaying my involvement more and more. So next thing you know, I'm only in there 10 minutes, and I begged to be on the record. No, that's not the case. Even though I didn't play on it, I said, "Dude, you still want me, my picture on it?" He goes, "Yeah, dude, you're in the band, and you're going to be playing on the tour and on Leprosy." So that was always the plan. And at that time, I just wasn't comfortable that my playing would be 100%, and I knew we were doing something special, and I did not want to corrupt it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I felt.
So if you'd got the extra 3 months between recording and then going out to for release, you would have got your skills up and you would have been ready for the tour.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, totally. Because I could already play it. I just got so worked up in the studio, it was just like insane. And the same thing is crazy. I saw an interview and the same thing happened to Terry Butler, and I know exactly, and I can totally relate with it. I can absolutely relate with it. And him, he's an obituary, an awesome bass player. But he did the same thing, and that's the power of Chuck. It never affected Chris once, but it got me. It got Butler. I'm sure countless other guitar players over the years. Before he passed, God rest in soul.
Yeah. So Death went away. You were pretty pissed. Did you go and do some other bands? Did you try and keep in the music scene, or was that just like, fuck this, I'm out, I've had enough, I don't want this to be part of my life anymore?
I had to bail out of the Bay Area because it was nonstop. So I went to, my buddy called me from Southern California and said, "Hey man, come out here and check out the beach for a while," which is hard to not get used to real quick. So I was kind of loving that for a while. And then that turned into me joining up with this guy, Bill Ford from Necropolis, City of the Dead. And we did that thing for a minute. And then I did the Death Cult, and then a punk band, Psychotic Youth. And then that was it. Then I kind of just did the family thing for a while, got out of it, but always kind of kept an eye on things. And then I finally got to the point where I go, you know what? I got to talk to Chuck, man. I can't just go like this. This is stupid. And I watched something where he was like just chilling, and I figured I could get to him pretty easy by then. So I tried to get a hold of him, and I figured the best way was to go through Reifert, like always. And Chris is all, "Oh yeah, he passed away 3 days ago." I'm like, what? So out of the blue, I just get and I didn't even hear none of that. I didn't even know that he had passed away. I totally detached myself from all those groups. And then something just had me decide at that point, 3 days later, I got to make peace with Chuck. So I called to come to find out, and it really affected me. I can't believe how much I got like choked up over it and totally feeling like I fucking missed something I should have not missed.
Yeah, and I guess that, not being able to make peace is something that can be quite painful, and it's an important bit of closure that unfortunately I guess you're never going to get.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna ever. And I said a lot of nasty things, and I'm sure he said some things too. And downplaying my involvement would kind of hurt a little bit, but still, because like I said, it was like we were friends and bandmates, but we still had a lot. We went to shows every weekend. We did, in that 2.5 years, man, we did a lot of stuff. We had some good times, and hell of rehearsing, a lot of jamming, and just he's an amazing guy. That even though then you're looking at it now, 30 plus years later, and I'm just crazy how much I can still vividly remember it. It seems like yesterday I was hanging out with him, and that's something that's happened within the last 3 years. as weird as it may sound, round about the time the Possessed album came back, and they started talking about the age-old argument, Possessed or Death, who's the original Godfather, and they're trying to lean on Jeff a little bit because his album's pretty good. I'm not going to deny it one bit. And I really like that Klaus guy. That dude shreds amazingly. I mean, he's actually, both of his guitarists are insane. That black-haired guy as well, I can't remember his name, but he's pretty bombing. And I guess he's like a South, maybe from Spain or something, but he's really good. And anyways, that we kept hearing that, and next thing I know, I just get this burn, and these riffs are coming back into my head, and it's like I'm playing them like I did 33 years ago, and I don't remember nothing from 33 years ago.
Don't remember last week. Yeah.
I'm doing good for yesterday.
So that kind of brings us nicely up to date. So the Hand of Death, Death Resurrected, kind of, when did that come about? Is that like that 3 years ago? Had you picked up the guitar in between? Had you always kind of had a guitar to hand, or was this a kind of trying to remind your fingers what to do?
Yeah, I can't seem to get away from them. They're like, plus I have this one, my 80s V. It's called a baby V. It's like, there's not a whole lot of them out there anymore. Remember Michael Schenker? I remember seeing him on Dan the Green. It was an outside festival show they used to have over here in California in the summer. And he's throwing one up in the air, and he misses it, and it hits and breaks in half. A mahogany body Gibson 1980s Junior Flying V, 22 fret. The thing plays like a Cadillac, right? It's amazing guitar, super light. And he just goes into toothpicks basically on stage. I'm like, oh, you dick.
Shit. So, Death Resurrected, is it, and I kind of asked you this when we were chatting originally, it's not a covers band, right? This isn't you playing, songs from Scream Bloody Gore. This is new material in a Death style, in Death riffs. How does the whole thing piece together?
Well, first thing I did, just to play, because I don't want to upset nobody, I sent written confirmation to Eric of what I'm doing to check it out. If there's a problem, please let me know. I mean, in no shape or manner to defame or hurt or bring anything other than, more, respect and more bringing him back to the relevancy. Because I'm seeing him fading a little bit, to be perfectly honest, and it really kind of sucks. But, and also the family. I know the nephew who Chuck talked a lot about. I'm trying to get a hold of him as well, because I don't want them upset with anything we're doing. But it's basically to say thank you for what he gave me, that I didn't even realize what he gave me until several years, 20 plus years later. But it's vivid memories and just that tone, that Schuldinger's tone. He's the only one that's got it. I've never heard anyone even come. Well, I've heard people try to come close, but man, I can't seem to not sound like that.
So, but it's all kind of, it's all your material. It's in his style with his.
But it's
sorry.
There's some, like the Corpse Grinder riff. I have a song, Skullfucker, and it's got one part in it that's a Schuldiner riff. It's one of the first riffs he showed me and Chris when we first jammed out. Like, it literally, like the second day after we were hired, basically, Chuck shows us that one because it's an easy progression. It's real easy to pick up, and you can start playing it as a band within 30 minutes, literally. You can get everyone up to speed like that with it. So, and it's a fun song to play too. And he never did anything with it. So I took that one riff and let him know all about it, what I'm doing, and I'm turning it into a song. I'm giving him full credit for it because it's his riff, but he never made a song out of it. So I don't know what you would even call that. I mean, I'm not trying to plagiarize him. I'm not trying to say I'm Death or I'm him, because that's not true at all. It's always been his band and always will be his band. I just want to compliment it and, show my appreciation for the gift I was given, and it looks like, and I understand why people got hating on me, because I was lucky enough to have my picture plastered on the back of a masterpiece. Okay. At least Chris also plastered on the back. He at least did a lot more than I did. Okay, that's the truth of it. Unfortunately, I can't sit there and say I did, because I didn't. But, I also didn't beg to have my picture on there. I didn't, do anything of the sort. That was fully Chuck's idea. And there was supposed to be a caveat in there that said, John, is in the band and will be touring, but he didn't play on the record. But Combat never did that.
No, and I guess it's always a risk, especially in kind of modern technology and the YouTube, Instagram, and all that stuff. Is that the trolls and the haters have got a forum to try and knock you down. But I think openness and honesty is the way forward. And as you say, if you admit clearly that there's a riff here that was Chuck's, and he's going to get partial songwriting credits for it, or what, however you end up doing it. And I think that that hopefully will stop people belittling what you're doing. Yeah,
well, plus they're going to it's really likable stuff. So when they hear the end result, if you like music and you like death, old school death, if you like Scream and Leprosy, that's what they're going to sound like. If there was an album in between, it could definitely be this one.
Yeah, so it's back to that era, that sound with the benefits, I guess, of a bit of modern production and modern technology to help make things easy. I guess have you recorded yet?
Yeah, well, we've got 3 songs down. They just need vocals, and then I'm working on 3 more on Sunday with you've heard of Juan, right? Juan Ortega. I don't know if you know over there. He just finished that latest Testament album. He works on everybody around here, and I was blessed enough to get with him, and he's like he's the missing link. And then who Taylor Nordberg is, original Massacre guitarist. And he's offered to pitch in and help with some leads. So it's kind of like, that's what's cool. That's kind of what I was hoping. This thing would be like an organic thing that can just grow momentum and everybody can throw into it. Because if you really knew Chuck, he really liked that. When he saw fans wanting to do a meet and greet and wanting to, and people trying to play his songs and knowing that they weren't trying to take them and say they're his, he loved that, that kind of, and that's an awesome bit of, that's kind of, I forget that word, but it's very flattering. That's it, flattering. Someone takes one of your songs and and likes it so much that they're trying to learn how to play it. That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. And so, do you see this as more as kind of an extension of the Death family then? He's bringing all those people who are in the wider scene at that time and friends and kind of members and, of the associated bands. Is that what is that how you feel? Is that, it's more about bringing all those people together in kind of in Chuck's memory, I guess, is the, is that part of what it's about?
Yeah, that and the fact that I want to set the record straight. And I love Jeff Becerra to death. He's amazing. I grew up diving off the stage and watching him play bass and sing. And that's a huge part of my childhood that I love immensely. So he's an amazing guy. And I loved all of his works. But he's not the Godfather. That's Chuck. I'm sorry. Chuck started the sound, man. It's just totally different. Chuck, you take the evil out of Possessed, and I think it loses 30% of Possessed. I'm sorry to say. And I like Mike and Larry and all those guys. I know them. They're amazing, musicians. Grew up watching them play, but for some reason, they need that evil thing to it. Death never did. Chuck was not a Satan guy at all. And yet it still had that kind of dark, doomy, gloomy, kind of spooky feeling to it. But you didn't have to say a bunch of Hail Marys afterwards or whatever the deal is. I don't know. It wasn't the whole vibe that, Becerra was doing, the upside down crosses, the pentagrams, you know what I mean?
Sure, he was, even though they're tipped as the kind of the death metal, I guess in some ways they've got more leaning towards what we now know as black metal, the satanic stuff and all that lot, whereas the death metal was, for me at least, always about, it was like a horror movie, it was your zombies and your vampires and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly. And Chuck, if you look at his works, he kind of got out of that with spiritual. He was getting away from that. He was going into a totally different, and I knew he would, because that's how he works. it's like he draws inspiration from his surroundings and the people in his immediate world. And it's a beautiful thing to watch. I mean, I could tell you, like, when he came up with the just lyrics for Sacrificial Cunt and the title track, Scream Bloody Gore, those are right out of flicks, man. I was there when he came up with one of them. The dude literally jumped up. He's like, "Oh my God, I got it." Off to the jamming room we go. It was insane to watch the guy work. Just a total gift. I wish I had it.
Yeah.
Anyway, if I have some, I'm stoked, but I don't know. I ain't got it like Chuck does, that's for sure. Or did. The one thing I will say about Chucky, and you know, there was no need for the arrogance because he was already the baddest dude. You know, he was death metal and he owned it and earned it and all that. And it would have been nice, and I don't know at least how it was with other musicians moving forward, but he played with some amazing guys, and I hope he gave them the credit they deserve because he was kind of a credit miser, just a little bit.
Yeah, and I said when we were chatting before we started, you know, he has played with some amazing musicians who have, you know, gone on to be instrumental in death metal throughout the world. You know, you know, he was the originator, but those guys have taken it to the next level and kind of, you know, influenced so many more generations of kids. You know, we're seeing kids today, 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds playing Chuck style, Obituary style, Massacre style death metal. So, you know, I'm not sure 30 years ago we would have ever believed that was going to be the case.
No way, not even close. Just to get a band close to you to act like it was a challenge.
Yeah. Okay. So back to today. Who else is in the band? What roles are they filling going forward?
Okay, Sean Zach is a new cat I just picked up. He's from the East Coast. He's going to be heading this way, but right now we're kind of doing everything like everyone else is. But I don't know how to do it, but. That's our plan anyhow. I've been talking with him, and his name is Sean Zach, and I can't remember the bands he's been in, but he's been in quite a few. He's got over 20 years playing. He's pretty amazing. And I'm hoping to be honest with you, I want to snag Taylor Nordberg. I mean, I'm sure he can handle more than just Massacre. That guy, he seems like he'd be a perfect fit. Something keeps telling me I got to have that guy. He's just a perfect fit for the band, I think. He's willing to pitch in, at least for the recording, so that's a start.
Yeah, awesome. And then drums?
Matt O'Meara. Oh, wait till you hear it. This guy's like, he's the diamond in the rough. I don't even know where he came up with it. He's got the blast beats down. But I guess with one cool thing about Old Dogs is we get pretty good eventually. After 20 years of playing, yeah, we're there.
And Johnny on bass?
Yes, Johnny Brooks from original Bloodbath. You know who that is? I don't know if you ever heard of him.
No, I vaguely recognise Bloodbath, but I'll have to go. I'll have to go Wikipedia in to find out.
Definitely, yeah. If you go way back to the early Bloodbath, he was their bass player, John Brooks, and they actually did an album, and I think he played bass and rhythm guitar, one of the guitars, I believe. But I don't know what label they were on. I don't know if it did real well, but I just remember him telling me that. But he's great. He lives about an hour away, right next to Matt. So when it's jam day, the both of them carpool and they come up. So I mean, at least we're fully rehearsing a 3-piece. Our fourth member, he's moving from the East Coast, but I think it's going to be a perfect fit.
Excellent. So what's the plan going forward? You've said like you've got 3 tracks down, you've got more to work on. Have you got a label, title, release dates?
Yeah, I'm going for Ripped and Torn unless something else better pops along. I want to bounce again. I'm waiting to see what the folks over there at Camp Schuldiner think. I'm trying to kind of get their approval with everything as well. So, but right now we're kind of leaning on Ripped and Torn. It's 13 songs with a 14th bonus, and it's going to be on side B, like Chuck did on the Scream CD. Originally, when it was first pressed and released, the first press run of CDs was the only one that had the side B bonus track of Beyond the Unholy Grave. It wasn't on the vinyl, which was cool. So a little trivia there. But anyways, we're going to do the same thing on this. And we're hoping for Relapse, but if they don't go with it, it's probably going to be Nuclear Blast. Yeah, and Chuck always had nothing but good things to say about Matt, the owner there of Relapse. I've never met him. I've been talking with this guy, Remy. He's like the label manager, and he seems to be pretty jazzed to the whole idea. So as long as we can produce something brutal, which we already are, and they're going to like it.
So what kind of date range are you hoping for? This year, early next?
I'm hoping for, I want to go for 2020, October 20th. I think Chuck used to love to do stuff like that. Try to get a quirky, line up everything in sets of 3 or something if possible.
Yeah.
If we're ready, that's 5 months basically. I think we can do it. I just got to get, we're going to record all our parts, and then we're going to have Sean come out and do all of his parts.
Okay, so it's all steam ahead, and is this full time? Are you trying to kind of fit this between the day job as well?
Yeah, unfortunately, metal doesn't pay what it used to anyway. It never paid me anything yet, really. I'd enjoy it. So I'm not even doing it for the money. I'm just doing it because it feels like I got to do it. And I have a day job. It pays me well. So they don't mind me having long hair and play my music. So it's pretty cool.
That's all you can ask for, isn't it?
That's all I can ask for,
So when this is out, kind of end of the year, obviously, I don't know how affected you guys have been with coronavirus and all that sort of stuff, but do you want to take this out on the road? Do you want to go and tour it? Yeah. You're looking to get out?
I just need connections, man. And if the UK has got it happening more than America, we'll hit there first, happily. I mean, I know there's a huge amount of Death fans that just are starving for some kind of something other than a remix after a remix. And, just between you and I, Relapse doesn't even have the original reel-to-reel. They lost it. Combat lost it. It never made it past Century Media when they got the arsenal of stuff. So, I mean, he went through 4 labels. Chuck got passed around to 4 labels, and somewhere along the line, they lost the original reel-to-reel to Leprosy and Scream, which is tragic because now you're going off, the best you can hope for is going off a repress or, a remix of one of the first pressings. And you're going to pick up so much ambient noise. It's not going to be anything like a true remaster.
No, there's no way to completely, do a bottom-up digital remaster on that. You can obviously improve it and clear that up, and technology's helped a lot with that, I guess. But it's never going to be as good as taking the original reel-to-reel that probably ended up in a skip somewhere. Yeah,
can you believe that? That is gold. And there was extra songs too. Chuck did 2 other songs that never made it, and they didn't make it to bonus song. He was going to do something later with them. It never came out on. And then after Spiritual, Combat dumped them, or they parted ways.
A bit of a pointy question, but you've been accused of cashing in. I've seen some quite horrible things said to you online and posted in YouTube things. What do you say to those people who are kind of accusing you of just cashing in on that legacy?
Well, again, I've made nothing yet. Metal has paid me nothing. All I've done is spent for metal. I can't even get a free concert ticket unless it's my buddy's band, right? So I haven't really cashed in, and I'm doing this because I have a fondness of Chuck. I love all things Chuck, all of his works I've enjoyed immensely. I still feel connected to him, and I think he's kind of in some weird way pushing me to do this thing. Why would I want to put myself, make it more farter, or whatever that word is, more fatter for the trolls, right?
Does it hurt though, especially when some of those people are, I've seen a couple of names and I'm not going to mention them, but there's been some, relatively respected people in the death metal scene make some comments. Does it hurt when it's your peers, or does it hurt when it's fans, or is it just you getting to the point now it's like, fuck you, I'm just going to prove you wrong by showing you what I can do? Yeah,
it hurts more when it's the fans, because Death fans were always pretty open-minded, and to hear them close down like that, it's kind of sucky. I expect that from other musicians, because it's a very competitive thing. And, even when you're touring with an opening band, they're trying to cut your head off just like you're trying to squish them like a bug. It's the nature of the beast, and whoever wins, somebody's going to win at the end of the show. It's who's going to, the headliner or the opener. We always tried to rip heads off if we open something up. I mean, I've played a fair amount of shows, not really big ones, but enough. I like the intimate club full of people and just people bouncing off everywhere. That's just a good time to me.
Yeah, and we've all been to those gigs where the opening act blow the headliner off the stage. You know, there's the billing is the wrong way round, and you know, these young hungry bands want to do that.
I remember seeing I saw Raven open for Metallica. Excuse me. Metallica opened for Raven and at the Keystone in Berkeley, and oh my God! And Gallagher, he was shredding the bass. He was all over the place, but he couldn't touch him. Metallica just smoked him. Yeah,
and that I think the giant killer. That everyone wants to be a giant killer, don't they? They want to have that. We blew those fucking guys off the stage. They brought us in, they gave us no sound check, and we still fucking destroyed.
Yeah, and their sound guy was trying to dog us the whole time too. On channel. And it still sounded killer.
Back onto your new material.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything out there already we can hear? Have you got a teaser up?
Got a couple of teasers that are actually videos too. They're kind of funny because my wife made them, but she did a great job, actually. They're definitely worth watching. There's some cool old Chuck shots, some memorable shots. I can't seem to help not doing that. And again, not because I'm trying to cash in. I just like the guy, man. And I never got a chance to apologize. And I think there's some spiritual connection, as weird as it may sound. I'm not a nut job, but I've been watching that paranormal stuff, and I really think there's some truth to it.
So those are Midnight Meat Train and Skull
Fucker,
not Fluker. I got Skull Fluker written down. I can't type.
Right.
So they're both on YouTube.
They're super restrictive on bad words and nasty lyrics and stuff like that.
So where are they available? YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube. Trying to get to Spotify, but I keep getting shut down for explicit material.
In the 30 years, marketing within the music industry has changed up quite a bit with social media and all that sort of stuff. Where's the best place to kind of keep an eye and follow to get all the kind of the news on what's going on next and keep an eye out for the album?
Facebook and Instagram, probably. Those seem to be things I can navigate around on pretty good.
And what we're searching for on there, is that Death Resurrected, or is that John Hand of Death, or
both Hand of Death and Death Resurrected? Until I hear what the family thinks about me using that name, and the fans seem to be all right with it. And I don't know, it felt like that was the name. Once again, it just came to me. I don't know where the hell it came from, but something said Death Resurrected.
It kind of makes sense, doesn't it? It kind of fits the message.
Yeah, I'm hoping so, but it's not John trying to steal death. It's Death Resurrected, because death always was. It became out of Chuck's hands very quickly. I watched it happen, and I knew it was going to happen. It became for the people, pretty much, and he liked that. Once he realized that that's what it was, and not people trying to take his, or plagiarize or anything like that. It was him. He just created something amazing, and people can't get enough of it. I mean, what a gift!
No, exactly. He I think he gave us more than he'll ever know.
Oh, you're absolutely right. But I heard he did mellow a little bit in the end, because he got to a point where, and I saw some interviews where they were overseas and they kind of, left right mid-tour, and Terry Butler and Andrews and a couple guys were trying to give the fans something. And he got mad at him about it, thinking, no, you guys are trying to rip me off. He went through like a little paranoia stage, but it was brief. And he realized, that wasn't the case. Everybody loved him to death. No one ever tried to, well, I mean, maybe there was some people, but no one that I knew ever tried to take a riff and say they did it when it was his riff. It just, you'd be lying to yourself first. And if that's the kind of guy you are, then I guess that's the kind of person you are.
There's always shysters in the world. You can't stop everyone being fucking assholes.
Yeah, that's that exactly. But I'm going the right way with it, and I'd like to include him on it actually as a infernal member, if you will, because everything I do, I'm always thinking about him for his approval. I mean, he was like the hardest teacher I ever had. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you you feel like you've still got to get that. What would Chuck say? Is this acceptable? Is this good enough? Is this strong enough? And kind of looking over your shoulder all the time.
Oh, always, dude. That's affected my writing for years to the point where I had to literally give it up for a while. I just said, "Fuck, man, nothing I'm coming up with is worth a shit." And Chuck would hate it all. So why bother? You know, it's like if it gets past him, then I'm on something. You know what I mean? I got something good.
That's a big burden to carry on your shoulders.
Oh, absolutely.
So back to your youth a little bit. I watched the Murder in the Front Row video the other night, and that's and that's a really great snapshot of that time. And you know, I'm a few years younger than you. I was born in '72, so I kind of got into thrash and extreme metal a few years later. So that all kind of nearly passed by the time I got involved. But you watch that sort of stuff and you realise what a special time it was, especially if you were kind of a Bay Area local.
Oh, God, it was amazing, man. There was so many clubs. It was like no shortage of them. And if somebody wanted to be difficult, they could just shoot over here and play at that club. But the club owners were all pretty cool. They knew it was a special time as well.
Yeah, and I think, as with every, scene, for want of a better term, if you need the fans, you need the music, but you need the venues to get it as well.
Absolutely.
Because, there's nothing worse than getting beaten down by security that don't understand, what's going on in a mosh pit.
Yep. And they're just bringing out the flashlights thinking they're going for extra credit or something, Not okay. Yeah, and Wes, the owner of Ruthies, was super cool. He knew all the bands, most of them anyways, and he was just a way approachable guy, and he wasn't trying to totally grab all the money. He would give the band their fair share without a struggle or an arm wrestle, which is pretty rare at that time. And we're talking big, because when Ruthies would sell out, it would hold well over, he'd stuff way more than he was supposed to, but 1,500 people at, $12, $13 a pop, plus the beer tab and all the merch. There was money there, decent money. And he would I never heard him, Exodus or anybody complain about not being paid fair by Wes either.
And loads of underage in there, I guess, as well.
Oh, pretty much. Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of that happened, but it was all good. Everyone was kind of mellow until somebody got hurt.
Yeah, and that's, even the most violent of hits, as a group, we've always been good at picking other people up, and getting them out of the way and try not to destroy them when they're on the floor.
At least hide them by the garbage cans or something. Wipe the puke off them.
I say that and point them back to Mom. There we go.
There you go. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, see you next week. Okay, so finally, anything else you'd like to say? Any shout outs, thanks, or anything else you'd like to throw out there?
Thank you to the UK Thrashers. Thank you, Neil, for putting up with me and getting me on board here. And hopefully I've answered some questions. And if the fans want to get a hold of me directly, they can. I'm very reachable, man. And I just want them to give it a chance, because ultimately some good new material would get them listening to the old material again, too. And it's great stuff. It never gets old. I can listen to Leprosy and I still get the chills in the back of my neck like the first time I heard Pull the Plug. And I know you can go through every album and there's songs that affect everyone with that same little kind of nuance that they get.
Brilliant.
If you don't like metal, then you won't get it. I promise.
Everyone who listens to this likes metal, so there'll be no problem.
Perfect.
John, thank you very much. Looking forward to seeing what comes next, and I'll definitely be coming to get that beer off you when you come and play the UK.
You can count on it, Neil.
Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. Take care.
That was, of course, Death and Pull the Plug. Okay, last track for tonight. It's the title track from Aeons of Misery, which is the new album by Visions of Disfigurement. And that's it, a wrap. This is Death Metal Week over. Hope you enjoyed it. Please tune back in next week. We're back to thrash. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and see you next week. Keep thrashing.